Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us at the 2025 Berlinale. Maybe you can start with an intro to your film, Honey Bunch. For people who haven't seen it yet, what can they expect?
Yeah, so my name's Madeleine, this is Dusty. We're the writers, directors and producers of Honey Bunch, and gosh, it's so hard. It's a really hard one to talk about without giving too much away. But it's a romantic psychological thriller about a couple, the husband and wife, and the husband is taking his wife to this remote trauma retreat in the wilderness to help her recover from an accident that's left her with lost memories. And she starts to, as these memories start to kind of sporadically come back to her, she starts to wonder why she's really there.
And I love sort of reading the backstory to this, you know, kind of you were going on your own journeys, sort of separately going through breakups and then, you know, collaborating and then coming together as a couple yourselves. And I guess that was maybe the spark of like exploring, you know, those things we go through when in relationships and, you know, this concept of the soulmate, which can actually be kind of distracting and, you know, like mess with people's heads in a way. So maybe you can tell us a bit about how the story came about.
Built a really strong friendship, and then over the years of working together, we ended up becoming a couple. And throughout that process, we were often talking about our past relationships, what worked, what didn't work, and kept returning back to this idea of love and wanting to really try to explore love in a new way, deconstruct it. And for us, I think the idea that was so interesting was how much commitment is required.
Mm-hmm. And constant recommitment, because it's like this idea of finding the one is such an easy sort of cop-out, where when something starts to go wrong down the road in your relationship, you can just say, oh well, they're not the one. They're not the one. And then it's like off your hands. It's all, then you're looking for the new one. You're on the hunt for the new one. And
for us, like, love ebbs and flows, and it's in those valleys and those low points in your relationship when really is you need to recommit to your partner, and that it takes a lot of courage. It's very challenging to do, and that devotion was sort of terrifying to us and very interesting.
I think there was a question we asked each other early on because we were kind of like shoulders for each other in breakups that we'd gone through, and the question was like, what do you really need to do to have a long-term relationship? Like, what needs to happen in order to kind of go the distance?
And I loved also, you know, this idea of memory. And, you know, you're saying in some of the background to the film, you know, when you break up with someone, it's almost like they've died, you know, which is so true. Like, and that connection we can have, like how the body can almost want to protect yourself by sort of blanking out some memories. So is that also a really key theme through the film to explore?
Yeah, I think we're really interested in memory in all our work and how memory informs who you are, and the memories that you keep with you and that are really strong, and then the ones that fade away, and then sometimes they'll come crashing back to you and you'll be like, oh God, I'd completely forgotten that happened to me, but it's still so much a part of you.
And in terms of kind of using the trappings of genre, and, you know, sometimes kind of pointing to them and then also subverting the audience's expectations, you know, even kind of like having like the gothic, you know, sort of haunted house as like a bit of a character in the film. So where were you taking some influences from, and how did you want to kind of both work within the genre but also overturn it too?
Yeah, it's really, we just love genre films so much. We're really huge fans, and I think there's some obvious comparables for us in terms of what influenced us. There was, you know,
Don't Look Now is a huge one. I mean, movies from the from the 70s, Don't Look Now, Altered States, The Wicker Man, but then also films like The Innocents and Eyes Without a Face, earlier films that would have been called horror at the time, but now would definitely not be categorized as horror. And this idea that genre, the changing and mutating of genre, where horror meant something very different in earlier decades than it does now. That was something we were interested in playing with.
And even the way it looks, I think, if you know the way you shot it, you know, using vintage lenses and things like that. Why was that also really integral to the look and feel of the film?
Yeah, I think we just really wanted to feel like it was a film of that period, and trying to, you know, we watched a lot of those films and studied the kind of movement and palette and the approach techniques that were being employed at that time, and really tried to borrow from that language, using lots of zooms, and it's really creamy, soft lenses, so that you can feel transported as an audience member back to that moment, back to that time. It almost feels like an artifact, a film from a period that just you didn't know existed.
And you've got a phenomenal cast across the board, but maybe, coming to your central couple, and the fact that they're a real life couple, which I guess just means, they already have that shorthand, and you can feel that there's that lived in dynamic between the two of them. So how did you go about, I guess, finding the right people? Because they obviously had to fit both the characters and also be a couple. What was that process like?
Yeah, we knew Ben and Grace for a while. We'd seen their work. We really admired their work. Ben directed a short film called Her Friend Adam that won the jury prize at Sundance, and they were both in it. And their performances were very raw, very emotional. And then Grace directed her first feature, it was called Tito, and that performance was a very physical performance. She went through a real physical transformation, and I think the combination of both those films really cemented them in our minds as Homer and Diana, because Diana is a very physical performance, and Homer's is we needed someone where you could hate him and love him at the same time, and we felt like he had that range to do that. And also them being a couple, of course, we actually pitched the film to them before we even started writing the script, and we acted out the whole story for them, told them every moment of it, and we're like, will you be our Homer and Diana? And they said yes right away. And then we just started having conversations with them all the time about their fears of their own relationship and their struggles to where they'd got to, and just kind of through sharing that, it really shaped the dialogue for the characters and the dynamic between the couple.
Yeah, did you almost feel like it was the four of you collaborating together on somehow bringing bits of yourselves, bits of your relationships to the characters?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I would say I'm more Diana.
Yeah.
You're more Homer.
Yeah, I'm definitely the Homer.
Yeah.
And the thing that's great about, using genre is you can get so creative, and, there's so many great scenes and so many, the visuals. What was your favorite part to create? Were there any big challenges along the way?
Oh, yeah, there were so many. For us, it was really about trying to capture a very specific tone for the movie, because it's straddling genre in a very interesting way. It's mutating. And we wanted to create a feeling right away that really lets you know that this is going to be a strange, weird, unique experience. And hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And trying to capture that in the way we filmed it, the way we worked with our composer, Andrea Bocadoro, the way we did our sound design, to create a really unique, visceral experience for the audience that really just feels like something you've never seen before.
My favorite moment was a location that I can't talk about, so it's, you'll have to see it to know. But there was a very specific location. It's very atmospheric, very 70s, that I walked in and just thought, wow, this is exactly what we'd imagined in our heads.
And it also kind of plays with this idea that there's kind of something ritualistic about kind of medicine and being in these institutions, and how you sort of give yourself over with this trust. But, is that something that, is that kind of a blind trust? So was that also something interesting to explore?
Trust and letting go were two things. There is a lot of ritual in it, and I think, but I don't think that was a conscious thing that we'd put into it. That was something that just was kind of born out of the story. But there is an idea having to trust the person that you're with implicitly, because there's so much fear when you're with another person and you're committed to another person, that they're not at the same place you are, or they're not committed to you, and you can feel it because you're not the other person. So you can feel in yourself, I know that I'm in this, but are they? And you're constantly thinking, are they? But then in that constant thinking, you're constantly weakening the potential. So you have to trust and let go. I think that's the
good message.
Yeah.
And I guess in that way, would you say that's one of the takeaways? How do you want people to leave the cinema feeling? And I guess maybe having some of these questions, if maybe we've got it a bit wrong in the way we try and put relationships on this pedestal and idolize what they are, when in fact they're something much more sort of elusive, and as you say, they ebb and flow.
I think ultimately we want the film to be engaging enough that people want to talk about it
And watch it again.
and watch it again.
Yeah.
That it invites a second watch, and on that second watch, you kind of interpret things differently, and you can see those characters' motivations with a different vantage point. I think everyone will have maybe a slightly different interpretation of how they feel at the ending. I think for us, we see the film as a quite positive, uplifting
Yeah.
ending. But
It's our own twisted.
it's a twist.
love
It's definitely a twisted love story.
Yeah.
And so some people will connect with that and relate with that, and others will just
Think they're mad.
they're too put
Yeah.
off by the twisted nature of it.
Finally, what does it mean to you to have the film here at the Berlinale? I just feel like it's a platform for these kind of provocative, original films, you know, things that are just like a little bit left field sometimes.
It's a real honor and privilege. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it's
our
the
first
first
time.
film that we've had here, so it means a great deal to us, and it feels like the right home for this film.
And we just love this city so much. It
Yeah.
feels like it's the right place for it.
And do you really know what you're going to work on next? Are you collaborating again?
Yeah, we have several different things that
Yeah.
we're working on, and it's top secret.
Well, it's been amazing. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for sharing all
thank
that
you.
with me.
Thank
Huge
you.
congrats on the film,
Thank
and
you
enjoy
so much.
presenting it here in Berlin. Thank you.
Thanks.